Morning, Saturday morning. Thanks for tuning in. We appreciate everybody always coming around to the Saturday morning Collectors Radio Show. So we do appreciate that, and we always appreciate your comments and everything. Obviously, the the comments that we can read here and everything. Sometimes we can't read them. Sometimes there are things that we've already even discussed. So anyway. We appreciate that. We're going to go ahead and read through. We got some really cool stuff. A friend of mine dropped me off a magazine here, an actual paper magazine. He had gotten it, and he had dropped it off because he thought I would actually enjoy it. And yes, I thoroughly do. Because check that out. On the cover of American Rifleman is Colt's Blued Python Returns. So I thought that was cool. We'll take a gander at that. All right, so let's go ahead and read through the comments here in no particular order. Again, if your comment was not read, it's either a few things, after production of the show. We do it earlier during the week to get it up and ready to go for Saturday morning. Sometimes you just can't read it, or the moderator pulls it. So we use discretion in the comments section, just so you know. All right, anyway. If that doesn't heat you up and cool you down at the same time. All right, Jeffrey Richardson says, great looking table. Yes, awesome. We were talking about, if you've missed last week's program, we were talking about the 1911s and the roll marks and stuff like that, which was a question and comment that we had gotten from a previous show there. All right, and this one's from Slimfire. It says, morning JW. I hope you're having a nice weekend as always, and we appreciate that. Yes, we are. Always a awesome group of 1911s. I had a Colt Classic, and I changed out the plastic mainspring housing to a Colt metal one. I also agree with the Model 29. It's just beautiful. It's just a beautiful revolver to handle and look at. Thanks for the video, Slim. You are very welcome, Slim. We appreciate that. That's what we do here. We're always kind of making the stuff come out, and we can talk about it and different things like that. What's going on? All right, here we go. This one comes from Cap, and I believe Cap, you're the one that actually had that question about the roll marks in the classic model. And it says here, thanks for covering this topic. I had no idea this would be this week's video. I went back and watched your first video on the classic again. Your enthusiasm for the gun, along with Hackathorn and others, I decided to try it out. I can't say you made a bad decision. I happened to catch one at a great price and ordered it. That's good, because I did notice that ever since you mentioned that, I did notice that they've kind of calmed down a little bit. They're not like where they were when I first bought one, but they have calmed down. I've had many guns, but never one with such a rough roll mark. Time will tell if it's a keeper or not. Thanks again for your time. I hope you stay interested in the Collectors Radio Show. We all appreciate it. Yes. I do appreciate that, Cap. That gun, the Colt Classic, I've kept it all these years. It's an awesome 1911 to me. The roll mark thing just didn't really. I mean, yeah, it sucks. It's not really a roll mark. It's hard to say it's a roll mark, but you know what? There is a video where Ken Hackathorn was talking about it, and it's on this other guy's channel. If you actually just look up Ken Hackathorn 1911 or something like that, you'll see it. He kind of goes through the history of the Colt government model, the A1, and forward. Just kind of brushes through it. You can tell he's just skimming through it, obviously, because the guy's just a wealth of knowledge. He forgot more about 1911s than I'll ever even possibly know. But anyway, he kind of goes through it, but he ends up with talking about that last model, and it is a good gun. I mean, if you can detract from, I don't know, hit and miss with roll marks. Like I said, I had that one, the Elite, the Combat Elite. That's the one I let go. Roll marks were atrocious on that one. I didn't let it go because of that. I let it go because I just really didn't do anything with it. That one that I have, the classic model, man, I have shot so many rounds through that. Also remember, I had that back when I was working at an indoor gun range, so I pretty much was running mags through that thing on a weekly basis. I mean, I just, take my lunch hour and just go out there with like several mags and just, so that thing was seeing some rounds. And you know what? It's still, I think it's still tighter slide to frame than my Gold Cup. Or any of the other vintage guns that I've got. So it actually, I don't know, it's definitely, it's held up really well. So it's a keeper in my book. All right. Brian on the go. Greetings, my friend. Always appreciate your knowledge on 1911s. We appreciate that, Brian. Brian's been a long-time subscriber, and I do appreciate that. And nice to see you comment here, and you're still around. We do appreciate that, Brian. I myself, I'm sorry I don't get around to the other channels as much. I don't spend that much time on the tube much, other than here. I do remember everybody that's been there in the beginning and everything like that, and it's always nice to see people pop up again, and especially part of this show that we do here. So, all right, Crazy Scotsman. Last I heard, he's still crazy. Some fantastic 1911s on the table, but there really isn't any bad ones. No, there isn't. A 1911 is always going to be a really good, a really good range gun for sure. Just the trigger pull, everything on it, they just have a phenomenal feel to it. They handle really well, regardless of who makes it or what's on that slide. And as we were talking about Colts last week, Colt does make a good one. I would have to say my favorite, just straight up, like you can pretty much go into any gun shop and pick one up. My favorite company, I mean, obviously I always will have that. I mean, I love Colts. They're highly collectible. Their name and all that. But for the money, honestly, what I like for what they're doing with their lineup is Springfield Armory. You really can't beat Springfield Armory because they have everything from a $500 gun and to a $3,500 gun, and their recipe has stayed the same, and that's the forge, slide, and frame and all that. And when they put them together and everything, they stay, top shape. I've got the Ronin. That's right. I was trying to remember which one it is. I got the Ronin, and I've had that for a number of years now, and that's another one. I've shot a ton of rounds through it. I mean, it's a 9mm. It's a lightweight commander, but yeah, it's a blaster, man. I've carried it. I've shot it, and that's another one that was at the range with me. All right. And so here you go. I'm a Series 70 guy personally. Yeah, the Series 70 does have its that's always that big thing. Series 80 or Series 70. I've got a Colt Series 80, and to be honest with you, you almost can't even tell it's a Series 80. Unless somebody told you that, because I think for that system, Colt definitely has perfected that, and it is a little safer to carry if you just choose to do so, cocked and locked and all that. All right, the 29 iconic piece, nothing else like it. Everyone who holds it says the classic line. Yes, the Dirty Harry line. Yes, how could you not? Just incredible series of movies. Yes, it is. The Dirty Harry series is just unmatched. Magnum Force, obviously, we've talked about that. You know what? Another, to me, I think another hidden gem of a Model 29 movie out there would be Point Blank with Lee Marvin, which actually predates Dirty Harry. All right. The Mechanic with Charles Bronson is just pure classic. He brought such an incredible presence to the screen. Yes, Charlie Bronson, the mechanic. That was as good. That was a really good one. I really liked that one. I remember we bought it in a used bin at a local video store. On these VHS days, and that just we remember picking it up and just grabbing it there. The DVDs weren't a thing yet. All right, Joe P. Good morning, JW. I too really like the Smith & Wesson Classic Line Model 19. Yes, I like that because it's got all the modern touches to it. And I know, and it's like, wait, what did he just say? Yes. The lockup and the mentality going forward into that of saying we need this to handle a steady diet of 357 Magnum. And I handled one at a shop, and it does that lockup. When you open the cylinder on that thing, it just locks up tight. You can tell. And there's an extra detent lockup on the crane that meets the frame and everything. So that kind of interests me. The new barrel design, with it being sleeved and all that, being a better a better design and all that. Also, some time back on the radio show, remember this? I can't remember who said it, but guess who was doing that sleeve barrel thing forever? Dan Wesson. So, it's not something brand new that Smith just decided to start doing. So, and everybody, me, you don't hear much, poop being shoved on Dan Wesson revolvers. Those are really nice. Okay. And was literally ready to buy it when they announced the blued version of the Colt Python. Still waiting for the blued version of the Colt to show up here in Cal gun stores before I make a decision. But if I could go either, but it could go either way. Yeah, it's a hard decision. I would see that. Here's my take on that. If you don't mind, I'll jump in on that one on Joe. The Model 19 to me is always should be a 4-inch. I don't know why. I just I've seen the 6s. I don't actually. The only Model 19 I have left. I shouldn't actually. I sold my 4-inch. But I still have a. It's a 2, I think. Yeah, it's a 2-inch. It's a snub Model 19. I kept that one because I have a thing for all those little detective special size, revolvers. But mainly, I did, to me, just, I don't know, I just find it as a service, that police, size. That's the one I really like. Anything with I can't help but anything with a 6-inch barrel on it, I just start thinking that Dirty Harry type deal. So, but anyhow, the Python looks amazing in the 6 because that's the classic too. So it's kind of that, it's a tug of war because the Python looks the most amazing in the 6-inch, I believe, for me, and the 4, honestly, if it wasn't for Magnum Force, I really don't know if I'd be interested in a 4-inch Python. So that's where I'm at on that. And we've talked about that in the past. Like, people ask me sometimes, like, hey, what do you think is the best one of this for carry purposes or whatnot? I'm the worst person to ask that because my whole thing with this stuff is like movies and oh, it's like, why did you want that big old 44 Magnum? Well, the movie Dirty Harry, or why did you like the 6-inch Python so much? Well, because I watched Truck Turner like 47 times. So anyway, so yeah, I mean, I'm really geared towards film. The films and movies that I grew up watching and seen like a gazillion times has definitely influenced me in what I've purchased, and that's it. I mean, that's where my everything I have, I can almost pick it out and say this is because of this movie, or whatever. And it had really never anything to do with the fact that just going to the range and having fun with it just became a bonus. So, all right, Sean, happy weekend all. Has the roll mark technique changed over time? And do different companies do it differently? I know bluing has changed due to using not so toxic materials. Just wondering what else has changed over time. That is a wonderful comment and question. I have heard definitely about the toxic materials of the old school bluing that were on the stuff of yesteryear. That definitely is true. Especially those old commercial ones from the 30s and stuff like that. Actually, if you listen to Hackathorn when he's doing that video on the rundown of the 1911s, he talks about those commercial 1911s that were during around the pre-World War II era and whatnot, like 1930 and through that little small stint of time. I don't know for how long they were doing this, but he even mentioned, he says, to degrease those things, they dip them in boiling gasoline. Yeah, he said the same thing, right? Just think about that. And with the chemicals and process and everything involved in making those, like he said, it can never be done again. So there is definitely that. Roll marks has definitely changed. For instance, you know what? You can even look at this. Glock's roll marks have changed. Glock, if you look at their original, Gen 2, I think even the Gen 3, you can look at those. I don't know. My knowledge in those is very limited. They were actually roll marked. You could tell because you can actually feel on the slide where the metal had mushroomed a little bit, where it's clearly roll marked. And then you look at, I've seen some of the new ones out, and you can tell now they're just etched. They're deep. They're etched. They're not like what we're talking about like last week, where the stuff is all over the slag or whatever. Though it's done good, but it's not roll marked. You can clearly tell it's not roll marked. That's one way, or that's one thing that I've noticed. Springfield Armory's roll marks have been pretty. Theirs have always been really nice looking. So I don't know if they're rolled or they're just really well etched, but there's no burrs or anything around the edges. From all the ones I know the early ones had to have been roll marked. Do I prefer the roll marks? Yes, I do. There is something just unique because each one was almost like its fingerprint because it wasn't exactly identical. The metal did different things, and each letter may have showed up differently. You never know. It just my favorite roll mark of all time would probably be the roll marks from the World War II Colts, the 1911s. I just think that was the coolest looking roll mark. It's iconic. It's awesome. And it just stands out to me as just one of the cool things. I really wish Colt would redo those. I really wish they would take their 1911 line and look at the history of that and say, they're always about that's what kind of bothers me a little bit too, is like they're always talking about we're keeping history alive and all this. I mean, look, they've brought back their Python and everything. Why not go back through and produce exactly with all the markings? And that's one thing they forget, is like it's all about their markings. That's like the huge cool factor of their name and their history is their markings, the way they did it. And you can't tell me that they go, well, we don't know what it said. You can't tell me you don't have a warehouse, photos, something with all the examples, or a warehouse full of the originals that they've done. Okay, that's no excuse. They got to go back. I really wish they would go back and do the World War I 1911, the World War II 1911, the commercial 1911s, and put them out as a standard, a production line item and make them under the $1,000 mark. Okay, I understand and I know, and I'm not saying that $800 is cheap, for God's sakes, but I'm just saying, like, for them, you can do it. You can make it for that, under that price point, and the World War II one, do it parkerized dark gray or whatever that was, that just, you can do it. Everybody else has done it. You can do it. Jump in there and do it. When I see these other companies, Springfield Armory, again, they make a mil-spec 1911, no frills, no thrills, one. The only thing that I would say or critique on theirs is they angled the serrations forward. I get it. It's aesthetically cool, but it's not the way they used to look. They're vertical in the old ways, but they have it, and it's, and they got a parkerized gray, 1911 out there. They've done a pretty decent World War II repop. But if Colt did it, and did their roll marks the way they did it and everything like that, I mean, just, I wish they would have that. I wish that was a part of their thing, and not some limited run or something like that. That's what always gets me, is whenever they do something like that. It's like that World War I reproduction, 1911 that they did. And we've talked a lot about that over the history of this channel alone. Limiting to whatever they did, 4,000 of those or something like that, where I'd rather have known that they did 4 million of them. But it was like a limited edition thing, they only made so many of them, and then it causes the market to just, like, anybody that's got them, they scoop them all up. You got these shops or people that scooped up several of them, held on to them, waited for the market to deplete and dry up, and then rehash them out and more than double their price. It just, and that's the thing about that, is then it's not even worth it. The gun itself is not even worth it. It's like somebody taking the classic 1911 that they got out now, and then, trying to sell it to somebody for $2,300. The gun's not worth it. It's just not worth it. It was never intended to be a $2,300 piece. It's a $700 MSRP at the time, or below MSRP, right below MSRP. I think MSRP was $799. I'm sorry, but it was just never intended to that. They made it with that intention, and from my understanding, that the Colt repop gun, when it came out in 2009, from my understanding, that was like an $800 set. So, and of course now it's more than double that. It's ridiculous, like $2,000 or something like that. I'm here to tell you the thing is not worth it. I mean, the only thing that I would say, that if you're looking at it for $2,000, the only thing that you're really going to be into it about is the fact that it's got all the old features and the old roll marks. That's it. The features and the roll marks. Other than that, the fit and finish on that thing is terrible. I'm just telling you the truth. The fit and finish on that World War I reproduction gun is terrible. It's awful. The edges are sharp. The finish is not that great. It's just, but it wasn't intended to be, because of the what it's reproducing, or what it's supposed to represent. It's just reproducing the old World War I. But yeah, the roll marks are excellent. The look of it, they didn't, they went back. It's got the nubby grip safety, the big claw hammer, that'll give you hammer bite, which is totally awesome. The old sights and everything, and I get it. The scratching on the metal, it's basically representation of the war gun, because they didn't exactly finish those with the most beautiful polishing. So I get that a little bit. You can let that go. But I'm telling you, the edges. In fact, one of the very first original videos we did, which is no longer on the channel, unfortunately, and the footage is long gone. We were up at my friend Ron's Smith's house, that beautiful property we used to shoot on, and he's since sadly passed away, which is really sad. But we were out there shooting, and I remember we were getting ready to shoot, and I was messing with it, and the slide went forward and caught me right on the thumb, right here, and I tell you, it looked like somebody took like a ice cream scoop and just just took a nice scoop right out of my thumb, man. It hurt bad. And it was just because the edges on that thing is so sharp. But again, it's what it is. It's just, you love this little, 1911 for what it is, because it's a great example of the original 1911 when you say 1911. So, but there's that. Anyway, we get on this tangent on that stuff, and, I searched high and low for one for many years, never did, again, I always say this too about myself. Whenever it comes to stuff like that, especially re-releasing of like a lot of times like DVDs that I'm looking for or whatnot, or physical media, but especially with a lot of that stuff, like I'm always the last person to find out about it and know about it, and by the time I get to the party, it's already over, and I'm just like kicking around all the cups and the confetti and the spilled beer on the ground trying to find one, that's maybe somebody dropped and forgot about. That's the story of me collecting right there. All right. As we enter October, and I know everybody's going, it's not even September yet, but September is going to end, or by the time we have this out, let's see, wake me up when September ends. Let's see. Yes, by the time you are seeing this program, we are on the last day of September. Okay, so we're on the last day of September, or August. We're on the last. See, I got so excited for October. Everybody knows October is my favorite month. I love Halloween. That's my favorite time of the year. That's it. It's just Halloween. So, as September is coming on, and October is abound, I figure we're going to kick things off with a kind of an obscure movie, and I saw it on VHS days. That's when I first originally saw it. Arrow Video re-released it. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it is a nutty, completely whacked out, pointless gore fest. The movie in question is called Evil Ed. Evil Ed. I believe it was I want to say, when was it? It's a foreign movie, so you gotta kind of excuse the overdubbing. Interesting enough, who did some of the overdubbing, which is really cool, is Bill Moseley. Chop Top from Texas Chainsaw 2. All right. But yes, this is a really strange movie. If you've not seen this, just keep in mind, if you are going to go see it, I'm not saying it's like the best movie in the world, but it is very weird. It's very gory. It's just total senseless violence. It's about a guy editing film for this like company, and he gets put into this other. He gets thrown into editing horror films for this other company, and they're obviously just like this overly over the top, ridiculous, stupid, gory horror films, and he's editing them, and then he goes crazy because he's of all the stuff he's seeing and everything like that. So anyway, he ends up going ballistic and everything like that, and the whole ride is just like it's like Mr. Toad's Wild Ride, and it just drenched in wonderful red syrup everywhere and weird creatures, and very strange stuff. So what I remember on VHS when I first seen that, I always remembered the tape cover, because back then it was all about those VHS covers, and it was like an axe splitting. That it was a total looked like something from a Garbage Pail Kid card, and the head was coming out, and it had all this looked like red Cheetos, just flying back and forth. It's a very, very Garbage Pail Kids looking cover. I wish they had redid that cover for this. Arrowhead didn't. The Arrow Video didn't do that. They didn't. It's not in there. There was two covers or two versions of it. I think actually they did put the other cover in here. This was this was actually the cover I seen as well. that's the other cover that I seen. Actually, I'll put that because I do remember that being the VHS. So I seen some of the VHS tapes with that, but the one that I definitely remember was the one with the axe, because I remember going to the stores and seeing that and going, "Whoa, what the heck is that?" You know. And this was, the time where parents and wasn't so like, "Oh my God, you can't watch that." Yeah, right. God bless my parents, right? My mom at least. So, all right, I'm gonna go ahead and switch that because the other cover is cool, but it's not the cover. Like, obviously they just redid the artwork, but that's actually kind of more. Although I wish they would have kept that Garbage Pail Kid thing. All right, let's take a look at this magazine. Let's see, what do we have in here? What is it? Where's the articles that... Wow, very cool. The Return of the Blue Python. Well, let's see. Let's read that first, because there's no way we could read the whole thing out here. But if you go to see this in your... I'm not sure where he got it. He probably got it... Well, I know he got it. He got it from the mail. But now he dropped it off to me because he knows that I'm a big fan of this new Blue Python. It says here the original Colt Python revolver was introduced in 1955 and quickly achieved favor with police officers, competitors, and handgun hunters. It remained popular throughout its 50-year production and earned the iconic adjective and that is often applied to it. The last Pythons had trickled out of Hartford by 2006 after Colt leadership decided it was time for the curtain call. And you know what? Shame on that leadership person, because they're the responsible ones that turned their back on the civilian market and just focused on other things that they felt was more important. I'm glad they got rid of that person. Anyway, but really cool. They got the 6-inch and the 4-inch. Right here, there's a little quote here by Kevin McPherson. It says, Colt faced the challenging task of living up to a legend when it decided to bring back its Blue Python revolver, and it appears to have succeeded in spectacular fashion. I couldn't agree more. So they got some other cool stuff, some specs, some rundowns, some pretty awesome stuff. Right there, it shows the side plate off and everything. So pretty cool. If you see that, the American Rifleman magazine around, Colt's Python Returns there. That's pretty cool. The blue edition, I guess you could say. So that's pretty neat. The last thing we have on the table is, it's not a python. It's a baby python. It's the Diamondback. This is a Colt Diamondback that I've had for years and years and years. I bought this. I almost don't even want to say how much I bought this for. It was super, super cheap by what's today's standards. But of course, it's worn. I mean, it's got holster wear and all the sharp, or the the high spots, if you will. I guess has all been worn. It's definitely got the wear on all that. So, which doesn't bother me. It's I take it, shoot it, enjoy it. But again, why did I want this? This 38 chamber in 38. I wanted this because of the movie Brannigan. Yes. I tell you this much too, and if you don't know what I'm talking about, just go and watch the film Brannigan and go and turn it on and watch the first opening sequence. And if the first opening sequence of Brannigan doesn't make you want one of those things, you should check your pulse. We'll see you later.